Welcome to Pankinen Financial Perspective with Ashton Pankinen from Pankinen Financial Group. Planning for your financial future means navigating challenges like market volatility, inflation, and retirement income. Pankinen Financial Perspective is here to help by addressing common financial concerns, sharing valuable strategies, and exploring ways you can work toward your financial goals. Now let's get started with Pankinen Financial Perspective.
Hello and welcome to Pankinen Financial Perspective. My name is Ashton Pankinen from Pankinen Financial Group. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, give us a call at 952-873-2703 or visit us online at pankinenfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com. And while at my website, click on the radio page to check out past shows and to subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Also, while on my page, click the link at the top to get the latest retirement guide. For many Americans, Social Security is the cornerstone of their retirement income, especially for those who may have significant personal savings. But this system is under real pressure. According to projections, the trust fund that supports Social Security benefits is on track to run out of reserves by 2033. Now, that doesn't mean Social Security itself disappears. What it does mean is that the extra cushion built up from the past decades will be gone. If nothing changes, the program would be able to pay out what it collects in real time, and that could result in across-the-board benefit reductions of about 23% for current and future retirees. During today's show, we'll examine whether the program's current challenges warrant changes to your financial strategy. But before we get into today's important topic, let me introduce my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, how are you doing today?
Oh, Ashton, I thought you'd never ask. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And boy, do we have a hot topic today, Social Security. Yeah. There's been a lot of changes. People are concerned about it. So I'm glad we're going to talk about this today. But yes, I'm doing good. Although, here's my situation, and I've got a question for you and for our listeners out there. Yeah. My wife is out of town for 10 days.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and now we're empty nesters, so it's just, there's no one in the house except me and now the dog and a few cats.
Yeah.
Maybe fewer cats than before she left, but I don't know. But there's a dog and some cats and me, so I'm really batching it for the first time since I can remember, right? I don't remember the last time. But my question is this. Since my wife's out of town, she's actually in Nairobi, Kenya, Africa on a work trip. Okay. But my question is this for you, Ashton. Is it wrong to order pizza delivery 7 days a week?
I don't think so. No, that's appropriate. I mean, you do have to change up the flavors a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Get your veggies in there and a couple of them just to maintain that health.
Maintain that health. I've got them on standby with a defibrillator. Clear. Yeah. No. Yeah. I kind of kid. I've already ordered pizza takeout once. We'll see. And I've eaten at home though the rest. But I might have to do some Chinese, mix it up a little bit. Well,
I think you got to vary between pizza places. You just got to order
for
from a
sure.
different pizza place every time.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Right. I'll switch from pepperoni to sausage. I'll switch vendors. Right. I'll switch pizza places. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm batching it. That's my world right now. How about you? Now, this is typically for a financial advisor like yourself. This is a busy season that we've got into here, right?
Yeah, we're getting in the fourth quarter here. Well, we're in the fourth quarter, I guess. And so we do some year-end tax planning as far as, do we need to make additional contributions into different accounts to get that tax reduction? And, we're also entering open enrollment on the health insurance side there too for Medicare. So it's busy time.
Oh yeah, it's very busy. I know. So let's jump into our topic for today. Obviously, for countless Americans out there and seniors, there are few things more pressing than Social Security's long-term future, right?
Yeah, and just to kind of give full disclosure, much of our data that we've got in our conversation today is from a U.S. News and World Report article called "Should You Claim Your Social Security Sooner? A Shortfall and Shrinking Buying Power Spark Urgency for Retirees."
All right. Well, let's get into it. What's the first key point you want to talk about today, Ashton?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges facing Social Security today is simple math. There just isn't as many workers paying into the system compared to the number of people drawing benefits. Payroll taxes from workers and employers will still keep money flowing into the program, but after 2033, that revenue is only expected to cover about 3/4 of what's been promised. And so unless Congress takes steps and changes, retirees could see a cut in their monthly checks. And again, I'm not going full fear factor here. That can, a lot of times Congress does make changes. And so it's not just the near term outlook that's concerning. During the next 75 years, Social Security faces a funding gap projected to be in the trillions of dollars, largely because of that demographic shifts. People are living longer. The baby boomer generation is retiring in huge numbers, and worker to retiree ratio just keeps shrinking.
Yeah, it does. And so that's been the biggest problem. And people here say, Social Security isn't going to be around. In fact, there's a lot of the sky is falling and fear mongering about this out there. There's a reality too. And I'm glad you're bringing this up. But I mean, when you hear stuff that's said with such gravitas, like listen to this.
Here's another truth. Social Security is dying.
I mean, that guy, you hear that guy say that and it gives you chills, right? Social Security is dying. Yeah. And then, I mean, even kids.
With Social Security a thing of the past, she can't afford to retire.
So Ashton, I mean, we've actually been to a point once in the past that I remember years ago in the 80s. They said, oh, Social Security won't last past this point. And then they changed the full retirement age. They changed some other things about the benefits, maybe increased the Social Security tax just a little bit. That's taken out of people's workers' checks. So to go back more into the fund. And they can make these changes again and probably will, although I'm surprised they haven't yet. They keep kicking that can down the road. But I would hope they're not going to let this thing keep going. I mean, and it's, when people talk about deciding when to take their benefits, it's not just about the monthly dollar figure. It's about how those bigger forces in the system might affect their retirement security, right?
Yeah, that's right, Tony. Timing of your claim really matters. Take it early and you look at guaranteed payments, but a lower amount. Wait until full retirement age or even later, and your monthly benefit grows. And here's another layer, Tony. Inflation has been steadily eroding the buying power of Social Security checks. A recent report highlights that benefits have lost nearly 20% of their value since 2010. So that's more than $4,000 a year in lost purchasing power for the average retiree. So the decision of when to file isn't just important. It may be more critical now more than ever.
Yeah, I would say so. So and let's talk about just how much people actually depend on Social Security. I think a lot of our listeners might be surprised by those numbers.
Yeah. The article shares a study from earlier this year found that Social Security makes up at least half of the total personal income for nearly 40 million Americans. So that's more than 6 out of every 10 adult recipients. So just to drill down a little further, and you see that about 44% of recipients, those monthly checks cover 75% of everything they live on.
Wow.
And so for more than a quarter of recipients, that's more than 16 million people. It's literally their only source of income.
Wow. So for a huge share of the population, Social Security isn't just one piece of the puzzle, it's the whole puzzle then.
Yeah. And even for retirees who have other sources like retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, traditional pensions, Social Security is still reliable, guaranteed stream of income that should be factored into any long-term strategy. We've talked about this on the show before, that we talk about a 3-legged stool of retirement, personal savings. Social Security is one of those legs, and then a pension if it's available, or we can create that pension. For those who are less dependent on it, that flexibility can become an advantage. They can often wait longer to claim the benefits, which means locking in a larger monthly check for life. And the key is making that strategy that lines up with your unique situation.
Yeah, everybody's situation is different. People are always saying, people always ask, when should I file? And I think that's one of the most common questions people have. Should I claim Social Security early or should I wait? And that answer is going to be different depending on your situation, correct?
Yeah, again, it really depends on your situation. You can start as early as 62, but that permanently reduces your monthly benefit. Wait until full retirement age, 66 or 67, depending on when you were born, and you'll get that full amount. And then if you're able to wait even longer, those checks continue to grow by about 8% each year you wait until age 70. And after that, there's no additional bump because 70 is the ceiling. So you'll take it by 70 regardless. And so again, those who are healthy or have other income sources, waiting can be a much stronger lifetime payout. The challenge is that many people make this decision without a real strategy. They just jump in. The number of people that have told me, I'm turning 62, I'm taking my Social Security. I'm like, well, have we sat down and discussed the benefits or disadvantages of doing that? And so, my advice is don't shortchange yourself. Work with someone to help you optimize that Social Security strategy to get the most out of the benefits you've earned. And everybody's situation's different. And so we want to sit down and optimize that.
Yeah. And Ashton, you have, don't you have a report, the Social Security maximization report that you could run for people? If our listeners want to figure out when the sweet spot for them, some people say, well, you got to file at 62 because then you'll get more checks. Other people say, if you wait until 70, you'll get the biggest check. Well, usually the answer is somewhere in between, but everybody's exact spot. It might be 64 in 3 months. It might be 66 in 2 months. It might be 67 in 1 month. There's every month it can change. So where's that sweet spot based on my expected life expectancy, based on my spousal situation and spousal benefits? When's the optimum time for me to take it? Well, that report you have, the Social Security maximization report, runs over 20,000 different calculations. It even calculates in spousal benefits and strategies. I would not file. If you haven't filed yet for Social Security or you've just recently filed, have that report run.
Yeah, for sure. And it's big to have that report run. If it's something you guys want us to do, we're more than happy to do it for you. Listeners can call my office at 952-873-2703. Again, that number is 952-873-2703. Visit my website, pankoninfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com. And we can address your questions, concerns about Social Security, your financial strategy, or any other parts of your retirement. It's our goal to help you prepare for the retirement you've worked so hard for.
And we've been talking here today about whether some of the murkiness surrounding Social Security's future is reason enough to overhaul your broader financial and retirement strategy. So what's next on the agenda today?
Yeah, again, looking at that same article, we're going to address what can happen when decision-making is driven by economic anxiety.
Yeah. Well, people have fear. It's human nature, fear of outliving their money. And that's really driving how they think about Social Security, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear the same thing pretty much every day on a daily basis. And here's the thing. Most people aren't running the numbers. They're not thinking of terms of lifetime benefits. They're just thinking about today. And who can blame them? Prices at the grocery store are going up. Inflation is painful. And when you turn on the news and see headlines about Social Security funding issues, it's no wonder people have that pressure to claim early. I'm going to take it before it runs out. And again, we've talked that realistically, it's not going to run out. Congress will make changes to it. But here's what I tell clients. The real question isn't whether Social Security will run out of money. It's whether you will. So again, we want to look at you personally. Taking benefits early can calm nerves in the short term, but it also locks you into a smaller monthly check for the rest of your life. And that's why the decision needs to be made strategically, not reactively. A well thought out strategy can go a long way in helping you retire with more clarity.
Yeah. It sounds like one of the biggest mistakes people make is not really understanding the long-term cost of claiming too early, though, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of retirees and even people a few years away from retirement claim early simply because the benefit is available. They don't always realize they're locking themselves into that smaller monthly check for the rest of their lives. And the rules around claiming can be confusing and doesn't make it any easier. But here's what happens. Once people see the actual math, their perspective changes. So claiming at 62 might feel good in the moment, but over a retirement that could last decades, that cost really adds up. For example, Tony, waiting until 67 instead of filing at 62 can add up to more than $250,000 in extra lifetime benefits. So $250,000 in extra lifetime benefits. And that's not pocket change. That's real money that can make a huge difference in the quality of your life down the road.
Yeah, I know that I've read, I just looked it up, bankrate.com, the SSA, Social Security Administration, says that about 25% of all filers file at 62. That's a quarter of Americans file early and are getting reduced benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is spread out, over the amounts. There's also a pretty good chunk that file at full retirement age. So
Yep.
65 and 67 are the next two biggest. So, but you really need to be careful about that, because a lot of people, I mean, some people, it is important you file at 62 as soon as you can, because you need to, but don't do that without talking to a trusted financial services professional like yourself, correct?
Yeah. And again, it can be about cash flow. Sometimes we turn on that Social Security early, or sometimes we maybe still retire, but wait a few years to turn on that Social Security and use other assets like those 401ks or IRAs to make up that income in the short term, because every year you wait, they're going to guarantee you a higher payout. Actually, every month you wait, for that matter.
Yeah. Too many people, I think, make the decision based on right now. What's going to benefit me right now? But you've got to look at the next 20 to 30 years of your retirement. I mean, most people nowadays are spending 20 years in retirement, a lot of folks. So,
or at least one spot, at least one of you. Spouse, one of you is going to make it to age 90 is pretty.
So you're going to want to let one of those roll up beyond 62. And so people have been hearing about a possible Social Security shortfall for decades now. And we touched on this earlier in the show, but it does feel like the warnings are getting louder now. How close are we?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we're closer than many realize. Current estimates suggest about 7 years in the program reserves could be depleted, according to the article. And again, now that doesn't mean the system just shuts down. It means unless Congress steps up, benefits would have to be cut, because only ongoing payroll taxes would be funding the program. So the committee responsible for the federal budget project 24% across the board cut in late 2032 if no changes are made. To put that in perspective, a dual income couple retiring in 2033 could see about $18,000 less per year in benefits. And that's not just numbers on papers. That's real dollars that would affect daily life. It could mean working longer than expected, scaling back spending, or even leaning on assistance program to make ends meet. So that's why proactive strategizing is so critical, and waiting to see what happens isn't a strategy.
No. And Social Security has been around now for almost 100 years, but I get the sense that the pressures on it today are a lot different from when it was created. I mean, life expectancy, people didn't have that, but what's really driving the funding squeeze?
Yeah, you're right. The big driver is the demographics. Social Security since it started, the official retirement age has only increased by 2 years. So it went from 65 to 67. But over the same period, life expectancy has gone up more than 16 years. So that means, again, people are collecting these benefits for far longer than the system was designed for.
Yeah, the good news is we're living longer.
Yeah.
The bad news is we're living longer.
Yeah.
But the program hasn't really adapted much. Is that right? I mean, I know they've made some changes along the way, but they haven't in a while.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. The ratio of workers to retirees has changed dramatically. So back in 1945, there were 42 workers paying in for every one retiree drawing benefits. But in 2022, that number had dropped to fewer than 3 workers per beneficiary. So that shift puts an enormous strain on the system.
That's crazy. And that's before we even talk about the new legislation that's been passed recently, right?
Yeah, right. You are. The recent law changes have sped things up. Social Security Fairness Act boosted benefits for certain retirees, especially those with pensions from jobs that didn't originally pay into Social Security. And then meanwhile, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act reduced the number of retirees paying taxes on their benefits, which can be good, again, short-term for those individuals. But remember that every dollar from that goes directly back into the trust fund. So we're lowering the revenue, shortens the timeline for depletion.
Yeah. And that means that while those changes may help individuals in the short run, they also make the overall system a bit weaker.
Yeah. And here's the kicker. When politicians say we won't touch Social Security, it sounds like good news. but doing nothing is still a decision. And if Congress doesn't act, cuts will happen automatically. Inaction is just another path to reductions.
Yeah, and inaction is a path to greater reductions. I've read a lot of articles that say had they made changes to shore up Social Security, 5 years ago, it would have cost a lot less than it's going to if they make changes now. I have no doubt they will make changes. There's a number of things they can do to get that money back in the system. They can raise the percentage you pay in to Social Security from your paychecks.
Yep.
Now it's just a little over 6% you pay in, and your employer pays another 6%. So it's between 12 and 13%. And that money goes directly into the Social Security Trust Fund and reserves, which is good. So they might just, if they increase that by 1%, it could go a long way, if not fix it completely. Plus, raise the full retirement age from 67 to say 70. Those aren't drastically going to hurt a lot of people overall because it's so spread out. And I think that would be a smart move. I don't know why no one's done it. It's because of the fear the other side will say, hey, the politics,
wonderful politics.
Yeah, it's the politics. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. And it's from both sides. So it's crazy.
Sure. Yeah. Nobody wants to be the one to extend that.
I know. It could be a good legacy if, like, a lame duck president, like when Obama left or Biden left or when Trump leaves, before they go, if they fix Social Security, I think that would be a big legacy, saying, I fixed Social Security, right?
Yeah, for now.
For now,
we start living an extra 20 years instead of 16 or 25 years.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. So so I know that some changes can help individuals in the short run. They also overall make the system weaker. I think this has been a great discussion so far, but let's fast forward a bit. Say it's 2032 then, and Congress hasn't made any changes and those benefit cuts kick in. What does that look like for retirees?
Well, it could mean some tough choices, Tony, especially for people who don't have much in savings to fall back on. If benefits are reduced, retirees may rethink their lifestyle. That can mean going back to work in some capacity, turning a hobby into some source of income, or cutting back on expenses. None of these are easy adjustments, but they're options.
Yeah. And I imagine the timing of when you claim plays a big role here, right?
Yeah, it does. Claiming early can really compound the problem. For example, if someone files at 62, their monthly check is already about a third smaller than what it would be at full retirement age. So then if cuts are layered on top of that, say the projected 24% reduction, you're looking at a much steeper hit. In other words, take the money and run doesn't always hold up mathematically.
Yeah. So not only would you get less for starting early, but if cuts come, you'll actually feel them harder than somebody who waited, right?
Yeah, that sums it up. It's double the impact. Not only have you locked in the reduced benefit for life, then you're hit again with an across-the-board cut. So that's why strategy is so critical. Decisions made in your early 60s can have a ripple effect on what plays out for decades.
Yeah, that's sobering. I mean, it really reinforces that Social Security isn't something you just sign up for. It's something you need to address in your strategy. So let's say those cuts do happen and a couple ends up losing more than $18,000 a year. That's a big chunk of change. What's the most realistic way to make that up?
Yeah, one of the most practical options is simply going back to work in some form. And I don't mean full-time necessarily. A part-time job, some gig work, or even freelancing can bring in some steady income without completely taking away your retirement lifestyle.
So it's not necessarily about clocking back in from 9 to 5, but finding flexible ways to supplement then.
Yeah, it's about filling the gap without sacrificing quality of life. For some retirees, that might mean driving a rideshare company a few days a week or consulting in the field they know best. Others may take advantage of skills or hobbies they already enjoy. For example, if someone loves woodworking, photography, or baking, those passions can sometimes be turned into a small business or a side hustle. The key is that those activities don't just add income, they also provide structure, social interaction, and a sense of purpose, which can be just as valuable in retirement as the money itself.
That's such a good point. It reframes going back to work as not just plugging a financial hole, but maybe even finding new opportunities or even fulfillment, right?
Yeah, it's just not about making up the dollars lost. It's about creating that sustainable, balanced lifestyle if benefits cuts become a reality.
Okay. So going back to work could be one option, but for a lot of retirees, that might not be enough on its own to fill the gap. What's the other lever that people can pull?
Yeah, the other big lever is reducing expenses. And I know that's not anyone's favorite conversation, but it's a realistic one. If benefits are cut, you have to revisit expectations, and that could mean less travel, fewer dinners out, or trimming back on that discretionary spending.
Basically rethinking what retirement looks like day to day then.
Yep. And those who are willing to make bigger changes, the impact can be significant. Downsizing your home, for example, not only reduces mortgage or property tax cost, but also lowers utilities and maintenance expenses. So some retirees have even decided they no longer need two vehicles once they stop commuting, which can cut that insurance cost, fuel, and upkeep costs dramatically. Another option is relocating to a lower cost living area. Moving from a high expense city to a smaller town or even another state can stretch retirement dollars much further.
Yeah, it's never fun to cut back.
No.
Right. But there are ways to make those choices strategic instead of just painful.
Yeah, and it's not about eliminating joy. It's about aligning your spending with what matters most to you. The goal is to make adjustments that preserve your financial stability without sacrificing your overall quality of life.
Yeah. Well, how can working with someone like yourself, Ashton, a financial services professional, help our listeners out there build a retirement strategy that can weather the future of Social Security and possible cuts?
Yeah, working with a financial advisor like myself helps you see the big picture. We can analyze your income resources. We can do those model what if scenarios around Social Security cuts, build in strategy that blends savings, investments, and timing decisions. So the result would be a retirement strategy designed to stay resilient, even in uncertain times, customized for you and your spouse if you have one.
Yeah, that's important. Well, hey, we're out of time. Is there anything else you want to add before we go today?
Yeah, listeners can visit my website, pankoninfinancial.com. That's PANKONIN financial.com, or call my office at 952-873-2703. Again, that number is 952-873-2703 to discuss how we can answer your questions and address your concerns about Social Security, your financial strategy, or any other parts of your retirement. Again, it's our goal to help you prepare for the retirement you've worked so hard for.
Yep. And I know you love to do that and help people in our community. Ashton, thank you for that. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of the Pankonin Financial Perspective.
Thank you for joining us for Pankonin Financial Perspective. Don't head into retirement without a plan for both your finances and your health. For more information, contact Ashton Pankonin at Pankonin Financial Group at 952-873-2703 or visit pankoninfinancialgroup.com. Join us again soon for another episode of Pankonin Financial Perspective. Advisory services are offered by Ashton Pankonin LLC DBA Pankonin Financial Group, an investment advisor in the state of Minnesota.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.